So here we go for the taping of the ankle for HOSA Sports Med. I'm going to take this step by step right through all the instructions, through all 31 steps, and I will do my best to explain what I'm doing as I go. The first thing is obtain instructions. So if you've never done HOSA before, you're going to walk in the room and they're going to give you a little card that's got your information on it. That's basically going to say, you're working with Nate. He's a wrestler and he has practice today, and you need to tape his left ankle, right ankle. Pay close attention to what ankle it says on the sheet, because you are scored based on that. I believe it is, can't remember what step it is, but one of the steps, it basically says that you did the appropriate side of the body. Otherwise, step number 28, it's worth 4 points, so don't screw that up. Okay, assembled my equipment. So what you need for this one, you need a roll of athletic tape. You need pre-wrap. They will probably provide you with tape spray, but it doesn't hurt to have some. You need heel and lace pads. I highly recommend having these made in advance. Depending on your situation, the judge may tell you not to actually stick them on the person, but the heel and lace pads should also have skin lube on them. I'm not going to put skin lube on today, and I'm not going to spray Nate. You'll simulate the spray most likely at the regionals and at states and even at internationals, but the pads, you can show where they go. You don't necessarily have to put them on. Washed hands, use non-alcohol hand rub. Okay, I did that. Greet the patient, introduce yourself. So hi, you Nate?
Yes, sir.
Hi Nate, I'm John. I'm here to tape your ankle, and I'm gonna get you ready for practice, okay? So it's your left ankle?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what I just did there is I identified him, I got his name, and I explained what we're gonna do. We're gonna be taping his left ankle to get him ready for wrestling practice. Position the patient, sit on the taping table with the leg extended off the edge and the foot in dorsiflexion. So if you point your toes to the ceiling for me, try to keep pointing there the whole time. So you want him to slide down the hair more towards me. You want basically the middle of the calf to be at about the edge of the taping table, okay? Demonstrate spraying the area with tape here without actually spraying. So your sound effects don't get you extra points, but whatever. So I sprayed his ankle, applied thin foam pads with skin lubricant over the heel and lace areas to provide additional adherence and lessen irritation. So that's your heel and lace pads. Again, you would normally make these up in advance with the skin lube on there, Vaseline, something else. Again, I don't think they're going to ding you for points if you don't have those, but just make sure you show where they go. So I would put one here on the instep, and I would put one here over his Achilles tendon. The idea there is so as not to chafe in those areas and blister. Applied one thin smooth layer of pre-wrap to the foot and ankle, maybe under or over the foam pads above. So that's your call. I would do it over the pads because it helps hold them in place. So I'm just going to start here, just below where the ankle starts to flare out, and work my way down. I'm going to do a figure 8 here, try to cover as much of his heel as I can, and around the foot, and tear it off on the top. Okay, I like to tear it off somewhere where I'm going to hit it with an anchor strip so it'll hold it in place. Okay, so next step is using non-elastic tape, apply 2 anchor strips in a slight angle around the distal lower leg. So the leg itself is not a perfect cylinder. It does not go straight down. It tapers depending on the size of the person's calves and their ankles. You're going to be dealing with some different angles here. So what I do is I try to go at a slight angle, and I don't know how you can see this, but I do this first anchor strip here. It's just slightly angled so it lays flat, and I just kind of squeeze it to make sure it's good. And then I do a half overlap to do the second one, working my way down. Okay, so there's my top anchor strips. So that is step number 10. Step number 11, place an anchor strip around the midfoot proximal to the 5th metatarsal head. So counting from the pinky toe, that's number 5. Your metatarsal head is right here on basically just at the ball of the foot. So proximal, closer to. So we're going to go just inside that 5th metatarsal head. And we're going to go around again. The foot is not perfectly cylindrical, so make sure you angle your tape a little bit. So you can do 1 or 2 there. I believe it only says 1. Place an anchor strip on the midfoot proximal to the 5th metatarsal. Okay, so started the first stirrup medial to the lower leg anchor and proceeded down over the posterior medial malleolus across the plantar surface, and and the foot continued up over the posterior. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go from here. So it says posterior malleolus, the bones at the bottom of the ankle. So we're going here on the outside. We come straight down. We're making a stirrup because it literally looks like a stirrup from riding a horse. Okay? Put that on there, smooth it on. Okay? So we use, in this case, what's called the basket weave. So what we're doing is we're going to go from there to stirrup. We're going to do what's called our first horseshoe. So begin the first horseshoe strip on the anchor of the medial aspect of the midfoot. Continued around the distal Achilles tendon, across the distal lateral medialis, and finish the anchor on the lateral midfoot. So what that basically means is I'm going to do my first one here, starting about here, midfoot, over the Achilles tendon, and I'm going to end it on this side right here. So on the midfoot. Try to tear it off. It's been a while since I've taped. A wrinkly, not my best work. All right, so my second one, my second stirrup, I'm going to basically go over the first one, but I'm going to move slightly forward as I come forward through here. So I'm going to go about half overlap, come around here, come to the outside, stirrup number 2. Push it on, smooth it in. Now I'm going to do horseshoe number 2. I'm going to move slightly up from my previous one, half overlap, around the Achilles, back to the midfoot, push it down, third horseshoe, again slight overlap, coming slightly forward as I come this way, smooth it on, and I'm going to do my final horseshoe, again moving half overlap up, around the Achilles, and back to where I started, and tear it off if I can. Okay, so that's your basket weave. You see it interlocks, it makes this little basket weave. Okay, flip over to the other side here. I already did that. Second horseshoe, final stirrup, third, blah, blah, blah. All right, so now what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna start closing it in. It says begin with the third horseshoe, again, half overlap. So I'm gonna overlap half the width of the tape, and I'm gonna work my way up the ankle. So initially you're gonna see I'm doing sort of like, almost like an infinity, just not going all the way around. But as I work my way up the ankle and I get to where there's less taper, I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. I just keep overlapping halfway up until I'm back to where I started with my initial anchors. I'll make sure I cover the initial anchor. Now, you really don't want to take a lot of time during this to stop and look, but you shouldn't be getting any gaps along the back here. Okay, so there's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, so we want to check, make sure I didn't put undue pressure. Oh, I got to start. Apply 2 to 3 closure strips around the midfoot. Because I closed up, I got to close this way as well. So I'm going to go here, half overlap. Do another one. And what I've done now is I've closed in almost every single gap on the lower ankle here. There's one tiny one here, but we'll get that with the heel locks. Okay, so repeated the same pattern, going both ways. So I'm going to do my first heel lock now, step number 21, across a lateral lace area at an angle towards the medial longitudinal arch. Medial towards the middle, longitudinal this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go across the lateral area, lateral lace. So laces are here, lateral to the outside. So I'm going to start here. I got to think this through for a second. It's been a while. Okay, so I'm going to go this way, come diagonally across the laces, under his arch. This part you're not going to be able to see. I'm going to go behind his Achilles and back to where I started. Okay, now I'm going to do the opposite thing. I'm going to start medial, come diagonal here, under the arch, behind the Achilles. Oh, that's getting wrinkled. That's not good. Behind the Achilles, back to where I started. And you can do 2 of those. This is what really gives the ankle taping its strength. So what I do, I like to smooth the tape down as I go. So we'll go here again, under the arch, behind the heel, back to the start, And then same thing here, under the arch, behind the heel, and back to where he started. So this should give him a lot of stability. I think that's it. Apply 2 to 3 heel locks. I would only do 2 because you only have so much time to do this. Obviously I'm going kind of slow because I'm talking through it. So then we're looking here. Upon direction of the athletic trainer, used bandage scissors or a tape cutter to remove the tape. Tape cutters are definitely the way to go. If you have the opportunity, do it that way. If you don't, bandage scissors are okay, but the tape cutters are way better than the sharks. If you're using a shark, you want to slightly, once you slide the bladed end underneath, just tip it just slightly up. That'll make it easier to cut. So tape applied with mild to moderate tension. Looks good that way. Allow the tape to fit the natural contour of the skin. This is why I smooth it as I go, because I can get rid of some of my wrinkles and kind of hide them. There's a few wrinkles, not my best work, but I'm not gonna, I wouldn't, this would get me to the States if I was, did everything else right on my test. And then, so I'm gonna cut this off. Is on the correct side of the body because it matches the left side like it said. So here we go. When you go to cut this off, you want to try to cut through the thinnest area of the tape, but you also want to think about the natural contours of his ankle. Do not go straight down the middle because you'll jam him in the foot. So what I like to do is go slightly forward of the lateral malleolus. So I'm going to come down through here and slide this in there. Try not to hurt him. You want to pull with one hand, get a little tension on there. And then you just go right before the malleolus. Hopefully I'm not hurting you. And you can come right down the front of his foot. You just take it off. You dispose of your taping materials, wash your hands, and then reported back to the trainer about what you did. So I got him all set up. I taped him to do stuff. Now the only thing I did not do a good job of during this was step number 31. Used appropriate verbal and nonverbal communication with the patient and other personnel. I did fine, asked him his name and all that at the beginning, but I did not check on him as I was going. I didn't ask if it was too tight or how his foot feels or anything like that. So I highly recommend you do those as you're going, okay? If you have any questions, let me know.